pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with freedom and justice for all. All right, well, guess I'll just welcome everybody today, and we'll start our meeting. Again, there's been some discussions about whether it's 3 or 3:15. And so we want to point out that it was in the newsletter, it is on the website, and that until further notice, we will remain meeting at 3:15 on the first Wednesday. With that, if yes, Mr. Brett, are you doing a roll call? Yeah, do start with a roll call, please.
Mr. Rhodes?
Here.
Mr. Blanton?
Is excused.
And Mr. Bowler?
Here. All right, go ahead and start with the administrator's report, Mr. Brett.
All right, I tried to keep this brief. Fire department union negotiations are underway. We've had a couple meetings. Our next meeting is following this one. Our goal is still to have the contract finalized for the board approval on May 15th. Bulk water fill station. I'm waiting on construction drawings for the actual unit that we're getting. I have a generic one, but we don't have one for our actual unit yet. A new item to my report is Jordan Road water line extension. I've had some talks with Cleves, and we'll be meeting with them. We being Mr. Blanton, myself, Mr. Burkholz, and Mr. Windhusen from Cleves. We'll be meeting to discuss that next week. A quick list of meetings that I've attended. I had multiple meetings with Alex Ewing, our attorney, over various items, but mainly the union contract negotiations. Attended the Western County Economic Council meeting. Aspen Bluffs Regional Planning Commission hearing. Had a meeting here with the representatives from Sinorama about repairing or replacing the sign in front of the administration building. We're getting pricing on that. And at the suggestion of Mr. Beck, I asked them to give us a price for a two-sided message board that would be perpendicular to what we have now, and then fill in what we have with a similar stone and maybe something with our logo above that, so it looks good. By the way, the message boards can be expensive. The one at the community center or the senior center was costly. Whitewater just got a price on one from this company, and it was costly. So I'm not saying we're going to do that this year, but I do like Paul's idea of doing a two-sided there. So that would be a nice change, and I think get the word out better out there. Let's see, we hosted a Great Parks meeting on the Blue Way Water Trail and Walkie Trail here at our facility on Shady Lane. They had another meeting down at the Carriage House on Mount Lego Road the night after ours, and next week there's a meeting over in Miami Town that is going to just deal with the Miami Town portion, but that's going to directly affect us with how they get from the east side of the river to the west side and back. So I think that'll be an important meeting for us as well.
And again, all three of the trustees attended the meeting, same meeting that we hosted here, the Way Trail project. So there's a good representation there. The discussion. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Let's see, attended the Regional Planning Partnership annual meeting. As a result of that meeting, I picked up a meeting with James Noyes, who is going to help us with some funding for different projects we hope to have in the works. It was a well-spent Friday afternoon because it got us in front of the person who kind of calls the shots down there. So yeah, I was happy with that. The Finance Committee has met. Those here from that group. Had a couple of phone meetings with Mark Rosenberger about the Pat June Memorial Park, and spoke with Lisa Webb, the Assistant Hamilton County Administrator, regarding the sheriff's contract. She's taking what we spoke about to Jeff Lugo today. Hopefully she'll have something for me tomorrow, and we'll be able to make a concrete decision decision on what we need to do with our police levy on the 15th. So keep your fingers crossed. We're hoping that they're going to lean towards what Mr. Rivington and I talked with her about. He set that meeting up earlier with her and Jeff Lugo. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we're going to make some headway there. Few upcoming meetings. I mentioned we have our union contract meeting after this meeting. The Aston Bluff subdivision meeting will be, I believe, on the 18th. Dr. Rolf and Sam Blanton and I will be meeting next Monday. And then Dan has also asked them to, Dr. Rolf and the school district, to come to our meeting on the 15th. And we'll move to an executive session with them towards the end of our meeting.
Do we know what that meeting is? First meeting, or I'm not sure.
I do not. Dan just sent me a text that said, we're having a meeting, make yourself available. So I don't know what that's about.
Okay.
So I have a follow-up tomorrow with Lisa Webb, and our safety services director and I have a meeting with our work comp provider, Segway. I believe that's on the 15th, right before our next meeting. So in a nutshell, that's what's going on. Any questions? I'm glad to answer.
Anything from the public? Mr. Burns. Sir, from the trustee board regarding his report.
Yeah, I have no questions.
Okay.
But be busy.
Yes, thanks for, again, he's been a welcome addition, and frankly, I don't know how we operated. I think Trustee Beck handled a lot of the administrative needs, but he's been fantastic. So thanks for all you do. I don't think there's any need for a public presentation. We didn't have anyone request to speak, but if there is anyone that needs to, just let me know and we can add you in. But otherwise, old business, proposed renewal and additional millage for the fire levy.
So yes, since Cindy's not here,
Sure.
the finance committee has met. Cindy and I have talked. Steve Schuman and I have gone over the needs for the fire department, and that's really the focus of today's levy talk. What we've come up with is, if we renew the current levy, and because the bulk of our runs are in the township, not in the villages, in order to meet the needs for the department, we need to renew the existing levy, and we need to request 3 additional mills from township residents and 2 additional mills from the village residents. The reason we're doing this today is give the villages kind of a heads up. We can actually approve this at the 15th meeting, but it gives you guys a chance to think about it. Because one of the things we have to decide is, are we going to put that on as 1, a renewal, and 2, a new request, or are we going to put it on as 1 request for renewal in addition? So that's something we'll have to decide. But as long as everybody's okay with the millage, then the villages can get started on their requirements to get their levy on the ballot. What this will do is it will allow us to bring in enough money to pay for more things that are coming out of the general fund, out of the fire fund. So Cindy's estimate is we'll be able to take, say, $600,000 for insurance currently paid for out of the general fund, and pay for it out of the fire fund. It'll cover our increase in staffing that we're going to have. I think Chief Schuman is comfortable with the number. numbers. So what this will allow us to do is transfer some of that money from pay for things out of the fire fund that are being paid for out of the general fund. And we will not have to ask for an addition to our general operating levy when it comes up. So,
Can I clarify with your remarks? So when you say things that were paid for out of the general fund to the fire fund, these are fire related expenses that are more in line with, it being out of the fire fund, because they're ultimately insurance for our firefighters and our fire operation.
right, firefighters, health insurance, property and casualty insurance. It's not unusual for administrative salaries to come out of the general fund. And right now, those are coming out of the general fund as well. But anything that's strictly fire related can be paid for out of the fire levy and should be switched there. I think it's a cleaner operating method, and I think in working with Chief Schuman so far, we're going to get a lot better handle on the actual cost and where the costs go are in that division. So we'll be solid moving forward with this.
Trustee Borat, you're the liaison to the fire department. Comments, thoughts, recommendations?
Yeah, I think we're headed great direction. Talk with Brett. Great direction.
Yes.
I don't know if it's appropriate. Can I ask questions? Sure. Pull back with Miami Township or with the Miami Township president. My question is it 3 additional mills to what we have on now for the fire? And what is our current millage?
3.29,
So we could go up to 6.
and then the continuous, or is it 3.69?
3.5 and 3.2.
3.5, 3.29,
So we go up to 6.
yes.
That's it.
And what's I know you don't have a concrete number of the sheriff department, but what are you looking at? If you put more on the sheriff.
We're talking about that, and we're kicking around an idea that hopefully we may be able to keep it status quo where it is now on a short-term basis, but that's all part of the discussion. So
So you basically would be doubling the fire levy money.
It's about a 50%
Yeah.
increase.
And how much additional personnel is that going to be?
It takes us to 13 full-time, or not
We have
full-time.
15 now.
So right now we have 25 full-time. There are 5 spots that are not filled, to take us to 30, which was approved before I got here. There's 50 spots that have been budgeted for them. We're not doing anything, so the plan is after the contract stuff to get that filled. But I think ultimately, and right now 12 people are approved. I've asked for 1 more person today to make it 13 for staffing stuff, but I think ultimately the goal is to make the fire department self-sufficient and to start taking the fringe benefits out of that fund instead of the general fund. So a lot of that operating costs would be for those fringe benefits, not necessarily.
How much money does that mean per house, 3 mills?
It's about a 105 per. About
105 per 100,000. $105 per
For
part,
each mill or for all 3 mills?
for all 3.
$105 per 100,000.
Yeah,
Why are we asking for so much?
Well, I think. Okay, what's coming?
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, what we've taken, I think that we've gotten by on shoestring, having open positions that really needed to be filled and should be filled. But I've heard from our current chief and that there's some of that money with insurance that are for the firefighters that traditionally in most other jurisdictions are paid for out of the fund because it's for the fire departments, for the fire personnel. So we're bringing those more in line with what most townships around the state of Ohio operate. And we were kind of being creative, but it's a better representation of what is really costing us to run and operate the fire department. And ultimately, we need to figure out whether the residents will support our fire department as we need to make sure that it's funded and operated. I know that sounds pretty generic, but it's we've been. It's the classic line is rob Peter to pay Paul type, and ultimately, the township's growing. The township's larger. We brought on Mr. Brett, and I don't know how we would be dealing with any of these things if we didn't have someone like him in the positions he's in. Was a newly created position, so that actually is part of the general fund administrative budget that's coming out. Well, we can't move other money that was previously coming out of the general fund because we're adding a position like that. I think it was long overdue, and I think it was much needed. But we need to bring the expenses behind the
So
police,
basically,
the fire, and administration, and everywhere else.
if I understand, you've been paying the benefits for the firefighters out of our general fund.
Correct.
Not just that, there's been other items that are.
Yeah,
And
there's
that's
other-
fine. Evidently, it's been working great for years.
Yeah.
It's been that way forever, all right?
I can't say on forever, but for some time, yeah.
For quite some time. And how is our general fund? Isn't it in good shape?
And I don't,
With Cindy not being
we
here,
said correct. But I think Mr. Brett can attest to this. She was very involved in the finance committee meetings and the discussions with them, and as part of the recommendations to bring this forward, and this was our fiscal officer's recommendations on where we need to be to sustain ourselves for the next, 5 years or.
personally, as a resident, sounds like a lot. We just passed the garbage budget, which is peak times, guys. Let's be realistic here. Everybody wants more. Sometimes we gotta look and can we work with less? And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying as a resident. With right behind it, you're gonna ask for more money from the police.
Well, I would say, if I could add anything to this conversation, it'd be this. The fire department looking at salaries and what somebody can make, and that's part of the reason, like we're having staffing issues now. We're kind of that lower tier. I don't know about you, but if I call the fire department, like I want somebody quality that comes and shows up, and I want to be able to have paramedics show up when they're supposed to, and I think we've had this staffing issue here for a while, trying to bring some wage rate up to where it belongs, to keep and retain quality here, to be able to bring individuals into the township that we don't already have.
And I agree with you 100%. Because there's no one more important than these guys with an emergency. And I agree with you. So now we're gonna be honest. We haven't been paying our firefighters enough, that's why they leave. All right? So now we need to find some money to get the people to come back or not leave. All right? So we're gonna raise the levy, but we need to be honest with our public. You can start asking for money and they're gonna go, what is a $6 million firehouse? That's just how people think. But if we're open and honest, and we say we want to give our men an increase, better benefits, to have more qualified people, I think it's going to go a lot farther. People are going to understand a little bit. Because I want the best coming when I need it. They've been to my house twice. Never thought I'd have a fireman at my house. They were there twice. So, and I appreciate what they do. But if you're saying, I thought we were down on firefighters. I thought we had more firefighters here 2, 3, 4 years back. Am I right or wrong?
By far, yeah.
By far. So we are way down. And the other thing that gets me is this township is growing. There's homes coming in here. Them homes are generating money. Not immediately, but I'd say within 18 months of when they start construction. You're gonna add 50 more homes on Bridgetown. We added how many homes on Indian Wells? This is more income. Do we really need the increase?
So
I'm assuming you're saying you've studied this, and we definitely say we do. Is there ways that we really, or have you looked at all that?
I feel like Chief has been over this since the first day he got here, maybe even before he got here, he probably was looking at our budgets. He knows what we need to do. We've looked at what surrounding departments are paying, and we're still not getting up to competing with the bigger townships. We're never gonna compete with the city of Cincinnati, but we know that. And even with the new pay scale, our top paramedic firefighter is the minimum of what the chief feels like he can get somebody to move as a lateral transfer to come to our department with experience. And the problem with getting the less experienced people, and I'm gonna go to Paul because he's been here through all of this. We get people who come in, this is a great place for a fireman to come in with, because we have a wide variety of runs. We have the roadways, the water, everything that happens here is a great experience for them. And once they get that, and they've got a little experience, they get picked up by the surrounding departments because they can pay $1 or $2 more an hour. This, I think, just gets us to competitive with them, but our top rate is nowhere near what Delhi and Green, Torrey, and those guys. We're competitive with the Whitewater and Harrison of the world, which we've got to be because that's the starting pool. But we've got to then build on why you want to stay here. And I truly believe that the chief is going to create an atmosphere here that when we get good people, they're going to want to stay. But, we can't keep them if we can't pay them.
Well, aren't we paying right now for some certifications for the new guys, but they gotta sign a contract and stay here for a certain amount of time?
Yes. And that's pretty common throughout the industry right now.
with that also comes a cost, right? So I'm paying for someone to go to med school, med school's $10,000. Then you're paying them overtime for stuff, that's $30,000 investment, right? If I can get someone to come in lateral and even give them, what to say, a $5,000 bonus, I'm saving $25,000. Right, I've got folks willing to come over and they're really basing it off of what this contract comes down to for funding, because our top out pay is the starting pay of some of these other, most of these other departments. Right, so trying to fill that gap and making it more, we have to build a culture for folks to want to come and stay. We also have to be able to pay them a wage that isn't going to be so detrimental to them, if even if they take a little bit of a pay cut, so they can still support their family and they're used to. And I think what you said before is exactly right about being really transparent with the community about this is why we need it. Yeah. And I'm on board with that 100%. And I think we even once this stuff moves through and whatever is decided, need to have several open houses in public and have some community forum where they come in and ask them hard questions and we're just honest with them, right? Because I don't think we're trying to hide any of this. We're trying to get the fire department self-sufficient to where we can start paying them fringe benefits and that kind of stuff. Right now, that's never been done because the fire levies never supported that. But if we continue down this path, the general fund isn't going to be able to support it either, right? Because health insurance is going up. We can't continue to pay our people, not give them any raises. So, I mean, just like the cost of living is going up, everything else, and unfortunately, our service is dependent on public. And that's when we go to the public with what we think we need, and they get to determine the level of service that they want. Obviously, by asking questions and us providing them true data and good data, and answering those questions too. And obviously, this was coming long before I got here, and these numbers are what Cindy truly feels comfortable with asking for, right? I mean, she knows much more about that stuff than I do, but basing off of the numbers that I ran just preliminarily with the current contract, and then giving them a decent wage increase comparable, really, maybe even lower than some of the other agencies around. When taking into account fringe benefits, that's kind of where she came up with that. And I think the goal is to get us out of that general fund so they don't have to go back for another levy for the general fund. Right, that would just, spread that out that much more. So, I think just being honest and open and having those conversations and getting into the public is going to be absolutely necessary for that kind of stuff. But we also have to remember too, we're building all these new houses, but a levy can only bring in as much as it was initially voted. So if we the levies that are on currently, right, can never bring in more than what it was voted for initially. So we get all these other houses, right? That doesn't increase our revenue.
It doesn't?
No. We have to renew those and go for more to get that extra income from those other houses.
So we're serving all of those other houses, but we don't have.
What do you mean? So if you build a new house, none of your tax money comes to our bottom line?
It's like taking a snapshot when you vote, correct? And you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Levy is voted to bring $1 billion in. On that levy, it will never increase from 1 million up. As new houses are built, it'll decrease those houses that were built over the last 100 years. That millage, it might be voted for 6 mills, and it might be voted in at 6 mills at 1 million. Never bring more than 1 million. You have to revote and go for an increase to get new additional.
So it's more of a drain to the department and to the township operation. But we don't have any more money coming in until you have that new vote. And like I said, it's almost like taking a snapshot of this is when the vote happened and this is what you're going to get, and you're not going to get it anymore.
That's the kind of stuff that the public like.
Right.
That's when the school, for example, the school runs into a big problem there because what was voted on 10 years ago only brings in what it was voted on 10 years ago. You can build all these new houses, but it still only brings in $1 that was voted in 10 years ago.
I couldn't agree more with everyone. And again, I welcome your remarks as far as the need to, well, yours to be transparent and yours to make sure that there's appropriate outreach, because I think that we absolutely need to, again, I've been an advocate for that, not only for this, but the police levy, for parks and all kinds of recreation and everything that we have going on. We have a lot going on. There's a open house. I'm not trying to change the subject on the library. A proposed location on that on Tuesday. And I had conversations today at Kiwanis luncheon, and everybody saying how critically important it is to hear from the public on that issue. I think we need to take the same approach. I think we need to engage the public, help educate, inform individuals, but also listen, get feedback, so that everybody knows that we are listening, we are paying attention, we do want to hear what they have to say when we're making these discussions, and then to build buy-in and build the support. And I think that that's the only way we're going to be successful. It is, I mean, again, God bless everybody that was able to kind of keep things afloat for a long time, but I think some of these things have been, the need has been building and building. We're kind of hitting that, that waterfall where it's like, okay, we need to really step up and invest similar operations. So,
Back to the chief.
Plus, with the tip fund, I can't say how we've gotten through the last 25 years. That tip fund has been a savior to this township.
absolutely.
But we did get that renewed, correct?
Right,
We did, but again, that's can only be used on certain items.
You're limited, no
Criteria. So as our operations and our needs for services, then we can purchase a fire truck, but we can't pay salaries and things like that. That's,
So back to the chief, if I heard you correctly, with your experience in firefighting for the last, I'll say 25 years, I'm guessing, you truly believe in your heart that you know some people that are willing to come to this township?
I know of at least 5 right now,
Well, that's great. I
right?
mean, that's good.
And
to hear.
that-
That's experienced people.
Yeah, I mean, they would be laterals, so they would come in at a higher step because they've got 10, 15 years experience. And a couple of them that live here in the township that drive to Butler County because the wages are high, you know what I mean?
That should tell you something right there.
Exactly. That's good.
And that doesn't include, like, we're down nine part-time folks right now. And that's just because we don't pay our part-timers with, anything that is comparable to any other. I would say we're probably the lowest part-time department. So trying to work through all of that and increase the part-time hourly rate and get rid of some of the other little stuff that's attached to it. Is all part of that plan to get our staffing levels up to where they have been in the past and to provide the service that I know the community deserves and expects from us too. So,
frankly, sorry, go ahead.
So our whole search for chief sheriff here, that kind of started this whole thing, is, we want to build something that's good for the township. We want to find the right person to kind of guide us.
Well, it sounds like we're in the right direction.
I would agree.
But it's just getting 3 mils sounds like a lot. Because, I mean, it sounds like double, and people go, double, that's just the way it is. Everything. That's all people talk about when you answer.
We're very conscious that it's the bad times I have to ask people
It
for
is.
money. It was talked about, each of the trustees have talked to me about that. The finance committee was very conscious of it. Cindy and I have talked about, this is a tough time for everyone.
But if I understand correctly, if you guys don't make a decision, you gotta get this downtown by June, so this can go on the ballot.
It has to be to the Board of Elections by August 5th, 90 days before the election. So we have to have it to the auditors to certify the amount in July, and which means we need to ask for the amount that the millage will bring in June.
Now, does that have to be approved by anybody downtown, what you're asking for?
the auditor's office.
The auditor's office will approve it.
They'll look at it and see if it's outrageous or if it's in line.
But then they'll tell us what the amount is that's gonna be generated from the levy. There's a, help me with the actual name, the levy review committee that reviews every year, reviews.
County tax levy review.
They review what your jurisdiction gets in taxes and what you spend. And they have the ability to, if you don't need the money, to lower the millage that your levies bring in. So, there are probably some places that don't need all the money that they get. Maybe the Amberleys and Indian Hills of the world. Doesn't happen out here with us.
So basically, you get this approved by August, whatever, middle of August. Then we gotta try to get the word out in public. To what, so on November?
Yeah.
We got a couple
First of
months to educate people to try to get this passed. But honestly, my gut feeling is if we don't educate the people, it's not going to pass.
One of the things that needs to be clarified in this whole process is about the power plant closing
Yes.
in 2 years. The revenue that's going to be lost.
From the power.
There's $500,000.
And if I'm being honest, I mean, what would have been great is if, we were able to hire the chief 6 months ago, and then we might have had more time to get him involved and get up to speed and figure out this contract, and then maybe get some more public input prior to having to make this decision or this recommendation to go, forward. But we're kind of in the predicament that we're in now. We're reliant on, the recommendation of our fiscal officer, finance committee, our chief, our administrator. Yes, Stan.
One of the things that I want to comment on is that we don't have to wait. I mean, granted, we won't have final numbers, Barry, until probably August. But I think that it would be to the township and the residents' benefit that we start the education process now. We explain to them the things that kind of surprised you a little bit, that the 1 mil is 1 mil until you ask for a change. These are the types of conversations that need to be held within the public, or open the doors and have these open houses, so that when the time comes and they do have a definitive number to share, it's not going to be shell shock. So if you explain to everybody how it comes about and how the fire needs to be self-sufficient, and they start to hear these things, it's going to resonate a heck of a lot better. So I don't think we need to wait until August for education.
And I'll also point out that Mr. Brad, we talked about the importance of trying to get newsletters out regularly. So he put an email out to department heads about a week and a half ago or so, asking for submissions that they have already working on the next edition. Possible, because we have so much coming up in the summer as far as events and things, but also just issues like this. So, yeah, I'm jumping the gun, but there's a website, but we're doing a website, and also virtual meetings already have to set up for that. So we're taking the steps of making it a priority to communicate better, and on website, on social media, on newsletter, and then in my opinion, we need to actually, because some folks don't use those, those, and so we need to actually invite them up here and say, hey, again, let's have an open house, let's have a town hall, let's have a discussion, and do it for them. So all things that I think, from my perspective, we want done, and that we're working for.
I think, to your point, if you've ever gone online and looked at your breakdown on your taxes, and you see where the majority of your taxes go and how small of an amount of that total that you pay actually comes to the township, we then need to take that number and show the people where the township is spending their money. They need to see how much is being spent with the sheriff, how much is being spent with our fire service, how much we spend on maintenance, cemetery. We need to show everybody where their money's going. That way they understand what they're paying. I think that's going to be paramount, that they see what it costs to actually run which department. Because the fire service is going to be our largest department. And it's probably the last
department of board.
Yeah, okay, that's where I was headed with that. That's the one thing that we can't cut. We need that service, and I'm going to look at myself and say, I'm at that age where if I don't have qualified people to show up when I go down, there's a good chance Jim's not going to make it. Yeah, even a fall for somebody my age and falls are the most common injury for older folks like me. I hate saying that. But it's just the truth.
You want to start to save Jim?
Put you in a white water. Obviously.
I do, but, and I will just mess up. I was just blowing mulch and stuff off the porch the other day, and I fell, and my wife came out the door because I was laying there, couldn't get up. It's like, I'm gonna call 911, and I'm like, no, you're not gonna call them because my back, fell. And I had to lay there for 40 minutes. bread, cultured lunch, all those things are possible. You want the best quality people coming to get you. And I used to be a volunteer, I was really good at what I did. And my level of care compared to the level of care that these guys give you nowadays, not even comparable. We've come so far, and people, even if you could get volunteers, which I don't think you could nowadays, because people have so many other things to do in their lives, they wouldn't accept the level of care. They come to expect what we give them now and more.
Thanks.
Well, I appreciate that discussion. I think it's good, and I think it's just a prelude to what's to come. So, thank you for everyone's input. If there's nothing else about that, I don't know that we need to take any action today. Is that correct? We're simply giving a general structure of what we're thinking currently, and I think we could still have time for input. So if anybody from the public has any thoughts or recommendations or suggestions, but unfortunately the clock is ticking because our hope and goal is to do something and take some action at our May 15th meeting. So anything else that we need to do, Mr. Brett?
No, just kind of give me the nod that it's okay to pitch that 2 mills to the villages so they know where they're headed.
Yeah, yes.
That's all I need.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move forward with our new business. Item 1 is a request to approve changes made to the ladder unit fire truck ordered with E1 emergency equipment. I don't know if the chief or Mr. Brett are going to address that or trustee Boring, but I know I've had discussions with our administrator about it. Who wants to?
Well, since the chief human's not here, if you want to do this, that's fine, but I can get the highlights. We kind of looked over the unit that was ordered, and that was 2 years ago. The needs changed, the community's changed a little bit, and the chief and his officers feel that there's still some time to make some changes with this order. And he'd like permission to do that. We don't know what the exact cost will be because we'll be working through those, but what we're asking is that you would allow the chief, with my approval, to make changes in total up to not to exceed $250,000. We'd like to get them for a lot less than that, but that's kind of a worst case scenario figure, and that'll help us save time on the changes and getting that unit back onto the service build program. So, I agree with him that the changes that he sees are better serve the community now. He's the expert. He's got his officers on board with it. I think it makes good sense to let him make those changes because it is 2 years after the initial order was placed.
Yeah, and I'll just say that I don't think either one of us want to spend more money by any means, but I'd rather put good money towards what we need as opposed to throwing bad money at what we don't need.
Which truck is it?
The aerial unit.
The tower.
Yeah.
So as far as when I hear from our fire chief, who I trust, that this is what we need, this is what the department needs. Like I said, I'd rather not move forward with a purchase that something that you're going to say is not the best use for the residents. So I'm comfortable supporting this, but I'd like to hear from trustee Morad and or the chief.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked with the administrator, with chief and the city. Perfectly fine with this. I agree with you. So we get what we want.
Okay. With that in mind,
Make the motion to approve those changes to the ladder unit, not to exceed $250,000. So we change them.
and I will second.
Mr. Robinson
Yes.
and Mr. Voller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is to give permission for Chief Schuman to, for the 2023 Sea Art boat, which is now on fire department's equipment list. Two other emergency response agencies. This is something that, it's my understanding, we inherited, it was donated to us for free, so there were no expenses or taxpayers' dollars spent on it. And it is what I hear is that you don't feel like it's needed or it's just more upkeep for anything that we better utilize in another department. So maybe, is that correct or anything?
So, it sits up here at the station. There's only one person on the department even comfortable driving it. We've had it for 4 years and it's only been dispatched on one call, and even then it's canceled. So it's more of a patrol boat kind of thing, and we don't do patrolling and patrolling. It was a police enforcement boat that was donated to us by the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office 4 or 5 years ago, whatever. And it just, we don't do patrolling. The boat isn't set up for rescue. It isn't something that fire department necessarily is even trained to do per se. We still have the boats down at the other station for rescue. We have 2 inflatable boats down there. We're going to continue doing that stuff. This just isn't in our wheelhouse to continue. It just sits there. It's been dispatched on one call in 3 or 4 years. And even then, trying to get it somewhere any kind of quick, it's not. Basically, so.
And the residents are still served by the inflatables that are more
Yes.
Useful, more efficient, more accustomed to the type of water rescues that we would see in this.
Right.
This township.
That's not a rescue boat. It's a patrolling boat. And we're not in the business of patrol.
Sure.
So.
And there's a typo, the 2003, not 23. I apologize for that.
So that makes sense. Any other comments? Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion, give the chief permission, get off of that 2003 Sierra boat to other emergency response agencies.
I will second.
And Mr. Everson
Yes.
and Mr. Bowler.
Yes.
Next item, permission to place surplus items on Gov Deals auction site. These items would include fire department administration and service department items no longer of use or value to the township. But there are no entries. That. So yes, any discussions on that? I know we have a bunch of miscellaneous items, electronic equipment and other things that are just outdated or were not necessary, and we can't refurbish or utilize. So anything or
Comment? Question?
No, this is just we trying to get rid of our clutter. I feel like around for.
All right,
I think that, again, that everyone has to do their spring cleaning, and there's nothing wrong with the township doing their spring cleaning. So, things that are just sitting around collecting dust and into your way. I have absolute confidence that you guys are at the direction of our administrator. Sounds. So. Give permission to our administrator, fire chief, and other department heads at the direction of the administrator to put some of these items up on auction and dispose of them.
And Mr. Everson
Yes.
and Mr. Bowler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Going to defer to Mr. Brett on the final item as far as approval for carpet replacement at the senior center.
I apologize.
Particularly bring up that, and it looks like the library is leaving some fashion and going elsewhere. So at some point, we're going to have a discussion of what we do with that space. But anyway, go ahead.
So I apologize for the late addition of this, but we did get the second price in for this. This is the price of $5,833. damage during the flood, sewer backup, and this is an insurance, covered expense. So while I didn't give you a lot of time to think about it, it's, something, the library is waiting on us to paint the wall, knowing that we're gonna do that. And, even if they start construction next year on a new facility, that I think it's gonna be 3 years out before they would get moved.
Sure.
2 at least. And, so once they actually announce that they're doing that, because I know there's some issues that they're doing their due diligence on. We'll have to look at what we're gonna do with that space, but for now, it's gotta be done to replace what was there.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at these two bids. But they were with the hidden services, were correct?
Yes, that was Mr. Miller's recommendation.
By far, it's cheaper in your truck. That.
Can I ask a question?
What company?
This is through,
In services, then shop tile curve.
But the estimate's in the packet.
so the recommendation from Mr. Miller, and Mr. Brett are, to go with Hinton Services, at the cost of $5,833.90, which again will be, covered by insurance.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Is this the interior of the library?
Yes.
Do you realize,
So we had the water damage.
I know that they're responsible for everything on the interior of that building.
Well,
We're responsible for everything on the exterior.
That's what senior center.
As part of the township.
yeah, it's listed as senior center / library. So again, I know this was a late addition. I don't know
I mean, I
if you have any.
just throw that to you. They're responsible for the interior, we're responsible for the exterior.
And I honestly don't know whether it's all library, some, senior centers, I'm not really sure.
Oh,
I'll just throw that to you.
I believe that the reason that it went this direction was because it was a backup of sewers, which is our responsibility, as I understood it.
There was an insurance claim already.
Well, the backup of the sewers caused the insurance claim because there was a lot of damage to our side. And, this is just where it seeped under to their side, so.
Just for the future.
Oh, that's good. enough.
Yeah,
Thanks for reference.
yeah, I knew they were responsible, that's why they're painting the wall back, because that was, somewhat messed up on our end, but, they agreed to do that. So the only thing we're doing is replacing the carpets and the sewer back up on their side.
The other discussion.
You were.
Did that go?
I'll make a motion that we forward the services.
Second.
Mr. Robinson
Yes.
and Mr. Bullard.
Anything, from the public? I know we've had lengthy discussions.
Just want to bring one thing up. You talked about the sign earlier.
Yes.
I just want to throw this to you for thought. We've got the sign out in front that it's very limited what it can do. But before we spend a lot of money changing that thing around, think about the corner up here, which if the roundabout is a dead issue, would be better to invest a monument sign up there at the corner, which is readable by everybody going down Bridgetown Road. You put it out here, it's only going to be for Shady Lane. And you're going to have a interesting way of changing it out here. But we talked about over the years, some type of memorial welcome to Miami Township. And look at what Green Township has in front of their building, what we've got at the senior center. To me, it would be a better investment, just leaving this the way it is and just say Miami Township at the entrance. And put some money in the corner up here as far as welcome to Miami Township. With this, correct sign, it could be read from up, down Bridgetown Road, Shady Lane.
I like it. So there's, I'll just say a lot of moving parts.
I know, and I don't mean to throw it,
with that whole intersection and area, and I would say that the roundabout is not done, or at least some road improvements for that area. But since you bring that up, I think that probably does make more sense to hold off. You know,
I mean, you
in my
might-
opinion, I'm
you might
sinking
find
money
those
into right here where we could have something located in an area that we would ultimately control, and be able to be more
because I
informed.
think you and I know a roundabout is, from everything is a far stretch. And upgrading that corner, making it look more presentable to Miami Township. You know, it's just, I think, a letter to sent to ODOT saying, we own that corner, we bought that corner for the future of Miami Township. Tell us what you think we can do to better make that appropriate and bring it up to today's standards.
I think that that's welcome input, and I appreciate that. I think that, you know, a lot of discussions are being had, and I think that's a perfect topic to include in those discussions. So, yeah. All right, I don't think there's any need for an executive session unless something I'm unaware of. So with that, trustee Moria, comments, on anything coming up? Yeah, whatever else. Memorial Day.
Memorial Day, the parade is coming up, on Memorial Day itself. Looking for any veterans, any community help that we can get down there. We have a dwindling population of veterans. It's getting hard to staff enough rifles to fire down there and walk down the middle of the street. So, if you guys are aware of any veterans in the area or even out of the area that would like to participate, we'd love to have them. We'd like to keep that, moving really strong. This is, I think, 101 or 102 years that this parade's been going on down there. So I think it's important to the community. I think it's important to the veteran population. It's just, they're growing older, and we're just not getting the individuals in. You know, I hate to say, I'm like the youngest guys down there, we're just not getting that next generation in. So, you know, somebody, please share with them that we'd be happy to help.
And I was asked on timing, is it 10?
So typically how it starts is the Legion will go down to the Harrison 2, 8 o'clock. And they'll fire down there, they'll do a rotation of fire. Go back, start mounting up for the parade somewhere between 8:45 and 9 o'clock at the old Skyline Inn or when the other bar is. Start getting people ready and then kick the parade off at 9:30. Once the parade kicks off at 9:30, it goes right down the middle there, Queens, goes to the school. The Legion loads up on buses and then it goes to the over, or we go over to Maple Grove Cemetery. At Maple Grove Cemetery, there is a Civil War, World War I and World War II now, Korea, Vietnam, and then Afghanistan, Iraq, and future wars, in which there's a presentation on each one of those mounts. From that point, you go back up on buses. Everybody is welcome back to Legion. Roll out. So everybody goes home. We've got a nice open space down there. We would love to have a community down. I think that gives us great visibility for maybe some potential events. See that?
Yeah, and I've been there several years, and it's very worthwhile. Just a great day. So, we're going to talk about, again, library open house is at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. I forget where that is. But I think it's at the actual library.
Yeah.
Library. So anyone interested in that, they've asked the public, the residents of Miami Township, if you want to be heard, feel free to attend that. And again, we have several meetings with the website, and we're working diligently on that. excited and optimistic that that will make a nice splash and be more informative. So I don't know, Brett, if you had anything else on that, but I think we're making good progress.
Now, one of the things we're gonna be doing is we're gonna try to add a lot of pictures of the community. So if you have any favorite pictures of landmarks or events or things that are sitting around on your phone, email those to us and, they may end up on the website. So,
Absolutely. I think that's a great suggestion. I wouldn't promote this, but it's actually before our next meeting. So on May the 11th, go yoga, 9 and 10:15. If there's any more spots, check with Miss Carrie Rovers on that. I would absolutely promote this, and actually we just found out about it today. Jacket games are coming back to Taylor High School the same morning on May the 11th. That's at 10 a.m. On the football field there, so it's kind of a special needs students, and it's kind of a special Olympics. It's fantastic. It's heartwarming, and it's just great to see them out there getting medals and competing, and it's just, you want to put a smile on your face. Attend Jacket games at 10 o'clock on May the 11th. We'll talk about movie night and summer concerts the next meeting, but again, we are putting together the next newsletter. So if there's any submissions, anything anybody thinks that we need to get out there, please let us know. And again, I would love to get the calendar, some sort of, I think we're going to need a couple rounds of town halls and dealing with different topics. And again, I know that there's a lot of economic development being discussed out there in the pipeline, some recreational, some business, all of it. And I think we really need to get something on the calendar. And I don't know if we can, how quickly we can do that. That's more the June timeframe, but I personally like to work with Mr. Brett and try to get something. And I don't know if we do that in conjunction with one of our meetings, one of our afternoon or evening meetings in June, or if we have a separate date. I'm not really sure, but I think that would be good timing. And if we're putting out a newsletter in the next couple of weeks anyway, that would, be good to broadcast and let people know.
June conference.
Yeah, so June 20th is 90 Proof 20 for the country band, and excited about that. And again, we're doing that on a Thursday night, so I want to make sure that that's abundantly clear, because traditionally we've always had them on Friday nights. Talked to Mr. Beck and others today. The goal is that we still have our August the 2nd, which is a Friday night with the menus. But we're going to try one Thursday night and one Friday night. I've heard from Delhi and a lot of other communities that have said that they're doing Thursday night concerts more often. And they got a lot of good feedback. But we're going to kind of see and say, let's try one Thursday and one Friday. And you might hear that people say, no, let's go back to all Fridays, or no, we kind of like the Thursday format. But we're going to give it a shot. So anyway, we have those, and actually we do have movie night on June the 28th. I know my kids are excited and worried that we all hopped up on sugar and popcorn and let them know. But we have Kung Fu Panda 3 or 4. I don't know either or there, but they'll enjoy that night. So if your kids or grandkids are interested, please put that on. With that, anything else, Mr. Brett or Trustee Boyd?
no, thank you.
Okay. Well, I will make a motion that to adjourn our meeting.
I will second.
Mr. Oakson
Yes.
and Mr. Bowler.
Yes.
Thank you all for coming, and have a good evening.